to another up close video. This one is focusing on the brand new Nuvo Dream Drops from Tonic. There's also going to be another video up which I just filmed explaining all of the different techniques in more detail that I've tried out with these drops, and also explaining like all the different older types of drops that have come out as well. But I wanted to do this video separately just because I've got so many samples. Otherwise it's going to be like an hour-long video. But I've got like 17 different samples, I think, and I just thought I have to film this now because at no other point am I ever going to have 17 finished things that are all using the same product. So yeah, I just wanted to get this video filmed. Hopefully it might be helpful to you, give you some ideas of how to use your dream drops and show you just how versatile they are. Like, I was so amazed, like they'd been sitting on my desk and I'd been itching to use them, and then it was finally time to make samples with them, and like as soon as I started playing I was just like, oh my gosh, you could do this with them and this with them and this with them, and I was like, whoa, there's so many different cool things you can do with them, as well as just making normal Nuvo drops as well. So yeah, there's another video showing you more in depth all of the different technique things that me and the other ladies on the Tonic DT have sort of thought up along the way. So, but this one is focusing on showing you all the samples that I made. I did film 7 of them, I think, but the other ones I didn't film, so I thought I might as well show you them on here so that you can see them in real life, because on a photo they don't look quite the same. But anyway, so this one is stamping with the Dream Drop. So I created my own stamp using one of the Tonic Snowflake Trio dies from the last Christmas release, and I just inked the foam stamp up with a piece of cut and dry foam using dragon scales and golden luxe colour. Oh yeah, maybe I should tell you the colours for these as well. So there's 6 of them. If you got Tonic Craft Kit number 18, you got an exclusive colour called Supernova as well. But the 6 main ones that are releasing everywhere are Dragon Scales, Golden Luxe, Love Potion, Cloud 9, Fairy Wings, and Indigo Eclipse. I think that, yeah, Indigo Eclipse. And also I should say, these bottles are bigger than any of the other Nuvo bottles, so you get 40 mils in these, whereas you usually only get 30 mils. But I reckon that's just because they are so great for so many different techniques. You might as well have more in your bottle, so you're not gonna worry about using it all up, you know. So, and you can see how many samples I've made. I've still got some left in these bottles. Okay, granted, this one is nearly empty, and so's this one, and this one's pretty empty too because they're my favourites. But I've done like all of these samples plus double because of prepping them all for the shows. So yeah, they really do go a long way. Anyway, back to what I was saying for these ones. I sort of jumped ahead before. But anyway, so this was stamping, and then I let it dry, and then I also added a tiny bit of ink blending over the top, just with, that was going really lightly with Rubber Duck and Lime. What's the lime one called? Lime Burst. Yes, Lime Burst. And then I also did some swirly drops. I added the Golden Luxe first and then swirled on some of the gloss white normal Nuvo drops. And I just made this one into a shaker card just for something a little bit different. So that's stamping with them. Then you can do this cool technique of adding embossing powder to them. So this is scraping it through a stencil. Again, this is the Dragon Scales and Golden or Gold Luxe. You can tell those two are 2 of my favourites. And then when you pull the stencil off, you add on Nuvo's clear embossing powder, and then you heat it and it all bubbles up and it looks really cool. This was Jodie's idea and it's amazing. It looks so cool. So that's using embossing powder. I tried to keep most of these cards really simple so it really showed off the technique I was showing on the card as well. So, and then you might have noticed I did this technique in my Nuvo Vintage Drops video, where you trace letters from a stencil. This is from the Alphabet Shuffle stencil from Tonic, and I just traced out the word want, because that's what I could spell out of the main letters that were in it. So I did do whatever you want, have a great birthday. And then I've just used 3 different colours of the drops onto the pink card, so it kind of makes them look a little bit of a different colour then as well. Then this one is scraping it straight through the stencil, but then using, once it's dry, using inks to ink blend over the top of it as well, which is really, really nice. I really like that sort of embossed look, so it, resist look. It looks like an embossed resist, like you've embossed it with like heat embossing powder, but you get that cool iridescent finish to it as well. I don't think there's any like iridescent texture pastes on the market either, I'm not sure. But it kind of works like a texture paste really. And then I've just used the Love Potion drops around the edge of that one. Then you can paint with the drops too. So this, from some angles, it kind of just looks like a piece of black card with the white image on. But if you, you can use a paintbrush with them and it washes out fine. And you can actually paint it on. And in the background, I just use my finger to blend that on. But for the flowers, I used a paintbrush to paint it. And then I also just use my fingers to dab it onto a black die cut as well, because then it shows the other mica colour. I've just gone through this in more detail in the other video, so I think when I'm editing I'll make sure the other video goes up first so I don't have to explain myself twice. So make sure you watch that one too. I'll make sure it's linked down below. So that's that. Then you can use them on acetate. So for this one, I've used it on the acetate and pulled them apart, and it really looks so cool. It just reminded me of the sea and like shells and things, so I just had to use that Oceans of Love die for this one. And then I've also added blue behind it, kind of shows it off, but I also added onto the blue card, just used my finger to spread on a little bit of the 3 colours I'd used on the front of the card as well. And it just gives that cool like rainbow fishy kind of look, and it works perfectly with the Hollow Waves mirror card from the Dream in Colour collection as well. Just picks up all those gorgeous rainbow tones. I really like that. Then this is stenciling onto Tonic's satin black mirror card, which works really nicely, and this one is Fairy Wings. And look, if you look at the colour in the bottle, you wouldn't have thought that that was the same, but as soon as you put it on the black, the colour of the mica pops out more, which is so cool. I really love that about these drops. So that's that one. Then I wanted to show you that you can draw freehand with them if you want to. I mean, it's not brilliant, this card, but it just shows you that you can draw with them, but you can also trace things with them. So if you wanted to see the colour that they are on black, you could have stamped a thick lined stamped image like a word, and just trace over it with them as well to give that sort of a look if you want to. And then just tried to draw some flowers that didn't really turn out that great, but it just shows you that you can do freehand stuff with them too. Then this one was one of the first ones I made. This was dragging Dragon Scales and Love Potion, no it wasn't, it was Dragon Scales and Cloud 9 through the stencil, just in a patchy manner, and then I use Love Potion to create the little heart as well. You just sort of draw 2 drops and pull them down towards each other, and you can use a pokey tool to make it more into a heart as well. But yeah, I really like that. It's just really simple. I was trying to do simple so that you could see the full effect of the really cool dream drops. Then this one, it's like a really optical illusion, this one, because they're like iridescent. It shows so many different colours, this card, but whenever I was trying to photograph it just now, all I could see was blue and yellow, but they're like, you can see the blue and yellow there, but there you get it, like it's like purple and green that way. It's so cool. It just looks different, all different ways. And I wanted to do this one. This was putting down a swoosh of Obsidian Black Nuvo Aquaflow, letting it dry, and then when I've been applying them with the spatulas, I've just been putting a big blob of like 1 or 2 colours, and then for this one I obviously just went like that and squidged it across to get the colour on that. But that's how I've been doing it for all the stenciling as well. I've been taking the new silicone spatulas from Nuvo and squeezing the drops onto the spatula and then scraping it through the stencil or straight onto the card. That's how I've been doing that. But it just gives a really cool look, and look at there's so many different colours in it, because you get, there seems to be like 4 different colours of it on the black, but then you get the 2 different colours of the 2 colours I've used on the white as well. It's so cool. It just looks so amazing. I love that. It looks like the petrol kind of look. And then I also did swirls of, I think that was Love Potion. Yeah, I think I used Love Potion and Gold Lux on this one. and I think it was the Love Potion, yeah, that I used on the Nuvo drops. I just put a big blob of Ebony Black down first and then swirled on some of the Love Potion. And for the sentiment, I just took some of the Gold Luxe and I just applied it with my fingers onto it just to give it that yellowy tone, so it matched anywhere where the sort of golden yellow was showing quite a lot on the white. Then, actually, yeah, these two and all of these were the ones that I filmed, so there'll be full videos up on all of these as well. This is one of my other favourite things to do with Nuvo drops. I've kind of done it on actually I've done it on 4 different cards, but it's my favourite kind of thing. So you add an intricate die cut to your card, then you fill the sections with the Nuvo drops, let them dry, and then you stick another one over the top to hide any of the messiness. So this was, I pretty much used, well, I think I used 4 colours on this, so like quite a lot of the collection I used on this, but you can see there's more than 4 colours in there because before adding the drops, if you colour any of the sections black, you can then see the colour that shows on black. So for these big flowers, that's Love Potion in there, which is pink, but in the centre it's a purpley blue because before I put the drops on, I sort of feathered in a little bit of black pen so that you got a transition between the 2 colours. And then in the centre of the flowers, that's the same colour going all the way around, but I just coloured every other one with a black pen first before putting it on. Again, on this bottom corner, I've added in a little bit of shading to some of the petals, and on these 2 flowers, I coloured the whole thing black before putting the colour in. So it just goes to show you don't have to use black card to get the colours that they look on black. You can just colour with a pen, and you can also do it, so say in the background, instead of doing the black drops with a swirl on, if I wanted this deep colour that the Love Potion shows when it's on black, but I'm working on white card, I could just draw dots wherever I want those drops to be and then put the drop over the top of it, so you still got the white card, but it looks like the colour that you would see on black, if that makes any sense. But yeah, and then another version of that, or in the background, actually I did it on both of these. In the background of both of them, I've used different stencils. This one didn't come out very clearly, but I've just taken a piece of cut and dry foam and then applied Cloud 9, which is the white coloured one, really thinly through the stencil just to give some like subtle interest to the background. And so for this one, same idea as the previous card, except it was a single die cut rather than multiple die cuts, and I haven't coloured any of the sections black. I've just left them all white to give a really subtle and pastel look. And then once I've stuck the second die cut over the top, I used Cloud 9 to go over the sentiment and to also add drop detail to anywhere I wanted to on the pattern as well. So I just realised that's dried off centre, never mind. You can see the die cut underneath that one. It must have moved after I thought I'd stuck it down. But anyway, yeah, so that's that one. Then this one is a similar idea with adding the black underneath, except I started with purple card. Have I got a scrap of it anywhere? Oh, I can't see one. But so I started with the Boysenberry purple card from Tonic, their textured card, and I added on shading with some dark grey markers, like adding darker bits to the like the back bit of the turn of the bow and underneath the tails and to the centre heart and everything. And then I used fairy wings and I just applied it really thinly across, so it kind of picks up the purple of the card and the darker of it as well, the darker that I'd coloured in as well, and it kind of gives a sort of shaded look. It's really subtle, but it gives a kind of a shaded look. And then in the centre, I did actually put white in that, but I don't know whether it mixed with the alcohol marker that I'd used underneath or something, but it ended up turning more black. But I basically put blobs of the fairy wings, and then it was white, but you could use black, like blob them all next to each other, and then literally just use a poker tool to swirl them together to give a sort of mixed look. So it's thicker here, and then all around here it's really thinly applied, just like literally brushing it over with your finger, or you can use a paintbrush because it doesn't harm a paintbrush as long as you wash it out quickly. So that's that one. Then this one is using a few different techniques. So in the very background you can see this was Dragon Scales and Love Potion. No, it wasn't. It was Dragon Scales and Indigo Eclipse. And I just watered them down and used a paintbrush to create a really subtle stripy background. Then I used that kind of paved pearl technique of adding multiple pearls in different sizes to create around the frame. Then I added a 3D look to the sentiment just by tracing over the sentiment with the Cloud 9. And then for the flowers, so I cut the leaves and stuck them onto white card and cut them out again, and then I did the 2 layers of the flower, and on the back layer of the flower and on the leaves, once they were stuck together, I just did the same thing and rubbed over the dream drops in a thin layer so you get the cool iridescent look. And then you can do it a bit thicker on the leaves because it kind of fills in some of the gaps as well and looks really nice. And then obviously I finished off with a big blob of Cloud 9 in the centre of that as well. And then finally, I'm nearly losing my voice now, I did this one where I used the stitched squares to create obviously the outside panel, the inside panel, and then I took this one out to give me a channel that I can put the drops in. And then for the centre of it I used the Oceans of Love sentiment, but instead of actually using the sentiment that it cuts out, I used the negative space. So I used the sentiment to place them all back in, but I put in all the negative pieces, so the bits from inside the words and around to create the rest of the fish. I just stuck them back in and then filled the recessed areas with the drops, and as well I filled the channel as well. And then once it was all dry, I obviously had to stick all these little bits back in and the main square and the outside frame. And then also, so to make the Oceans of Love sentiment stand out like it's doing, I took a black pen, just like a fine black one like this, like just a fine liner, and I drew the word in, so I filled in all the gaps where the word is and finished off the O and the S and everything, and then I added fairy wings over the top of just where I'd drawn the black colour, and then I added the gold lux and the dragon scales around the rest of it. Then for the outside of the frame and to tie this colour in, I then used the same 2 colours, the gold lux and the dragon scales, to fill in the most part of the section. But then I took some of the fairy wings and a little bit of ebony black Nuvo drop and mixed them on my desk so that you got the same colour that was appearing on top of the black pen. And then I took a pokey tool and just swirled some of it in and dotted it in. It's like black, but it's got pink in it. It's difficult to pick up on the camera, it kind of looks more brown, but I just wanted something that would tie that sentiment into the rest of the card, and I think it looks really nice. Just looks really wispy, and you can mess around with that pattern as much as you want really. You could make it all dotty if you'd rather, or all swirly. And then I also dropped in a dot of it on the eyes of all the fish as well, just to make them look alive with a little eye. And finally, I've also done 2 more samples as well that are home decor projects, because I was so impressed with how amazing these dream drops were. I really thought people would want to see how you can use them in other areas for projects and things, and I thought home decor is really in at the moment, and you know. So for this one, it's one of these little canvases that comes on an easel, and firstly I took a flat wide paintbrush, watered some of the you can tell these 2 are my favourite, I keep mentioning them, the dragon scales and the gold lux. I watered a little bit of each of them down and just brushed it across the background. I'm not sure if it's that evident, you can see a little bit of it still here. I've probably covered most of it, you can see a bit on that corner there. Then I let that dry. Then I used one of Tonic's new stencils and scraped the 2 colours through it. However, when working on canvas, it's very splodgy compared to how neat it looked on the card, so that's just a warning too. But I think it still looks nice, and it just gives kind of a subtle pattern and an overall background colour to the piece as well. And then on some areas of it I sprinkled on the clear embossing powder and heated it up as well. So you've just got, that's just the normal drops in the centre, and then that's with the embossing powder on it, so it gives a really different look. And then once that had all cooled down, you can see that bubbled up texture there. Looks really cool, this bit here. So yeah, once that had cooled down, I then went back in and added random Nuvo drops everywhere. Then I went back in and added random dream drops everywhere, the same 2 colours. Then these are the new media die word sets from Tonic, and I use the Eat, Sleep, Repeat one, and I put craft in it. So it goes Eat, Sleep, Craft, Repeat, and I use the Hollow Waves card for the words on that because they just go so nicely with the dream drops, because it's that like rainbowy kind of iridescent-y sort of look. And then for the flowers and the leaves, I took cardstock that was similar colours to the 2 drops, so it was this sort of a pastely green and this kind of like a taupe colour, and then I cut out the flowers. These flowers are from I've got the set here, everything's stuck to it. Simple Florals is the set that came out with the tuxedo box, or the tuxedo card creator that Tonic had. And then the small flowers and the leaves are from their heart box. Diamond cut heart box. They're from the diamond cut heart box. And then any of the extra little bits, it was just glitter really. So I sprinkled some this is white, gloss white Nuvo drops. You can see how empty my bottle is. In the centres of the flowers, and I sprinkled on a little bit of ice white glitter, and I covered the craft in ice white glitter as well, just to tie that all together, and it sort of ties in the sort of whiter colour of the canvas as well. But I really love the way that turned out, and I just thought it's a really like, if you saw these on the shelf in a shop or on the internet, you wouldn't really think that you could do all those different things that I've done on this with this in a bottle, you know, because it's a Nuvo drop. You think, oh well, I can just make drops with it, but it's so much more than a Nuvo drop. It's kind of like a paint in itself as well, and a 3D medium too, because I've painted with it in the background, then I used it through a stencil. You can even heat it and heat emboss it to give really cool effects. You can use it really thinly onto your card, and you can use it to make the drops and all the other techniques that I've shown you as well, but that's just like 4 or 5 different things just on this canvas. So that's that. Then finally, before I lose my voice from talking so much, I also wanted to decorate a photo frame as well. So this is just using the Tonic Craft Kit number 19, just to create a centre piece for it. Just always believe in yourself. These are the butterflies from the Boho girls. I'm not sure what the... Oh, Boho Beautiful Mariposa, this one is. And I just layered them up. I took the glass out of the frame because I thought it's easier on the telly without having to have a reflection of the glass, and I could add 3D things as well. But then, in the channel of the photo frame, this is a Poundland frame. And it's just plastic. I painted the back part of the channel with gesso. Before I painted it, actually, I know gesso doesn't stick, or any paint really doesn't stick very well to these frames. I'm not really sure why, but so I used a pokey tool and scratched it. You can still see the scratches, but I think it kind of adds to it. And then I did 2 layers of gesso, so the gesso stuck more because I'd had the tooth for it to stick to. Then I did this all with fairy wings, I think. Yeah, I think I was doing it with fairy wings. So this is the fairy wings colour. You wouldn't think that they're the same colour, but they are. And so firstly, I just squirted on big blobs of it, and then swiped it onto the background really thinly, just to cover the black and show off the iridescent mica that's in these. Then, once that was dry, I cut multiple die cuts of flowers. The bigger flowers are from that diamond cut heart box. And that small flower is from this set, which is called the Cascade Card Creator die set. It's just a tiny little flower die. You can see how small it was. It's the one that was missing out here. So really tiny little flower die. And then I've just added them all the way around. I cut them out of Tonic's satin black mirror card, and then once they were all stuck in place, I just filled in the extra areas with more blobs of the fairy wings, which now shows up a slightly different colour because you're putting it onto the fairy wing colour rather than straight onto black, which is really nice. So it shows up. Some of the blobs did run together because you're on a sort of slick surface, but I quite like that look. I think it looks nice. So that's how I created the frame for that. If you were into like jewellery making and things, you might have some like epoxy resin that you could fill that with. I think I probably would do that, but it wouldn't be dry in time to post it off, so I've left it just open as it is. But I think it just gives, it just shows the versatility of this product. Like, it's so crazy that you can go from something that you would usually just use as the last final accents on your card, but you could actually create home decor out of it as well. Crazy. And then in the background I just used a little bit on my finger just to bring the colour in as well. And yeah, so this was the same colour of card that I used on this one. I mean, if you wanted, you could even do that kind of thing and put it in the centre of the frame. You wouldn't have to have, you know, this sort of a quote inside it. You could do whatever you want really, or just have a photo in it. But yeah, so that is all of my projects. 17 different projects. I think this is the most I've ever made with a single product. I mean, I know there's 6 colours, but they've all of these projects have been focusing just on these amazing cool products. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed seeing all the different things that you can do with them, and don't forget to make sure you watch the other video that I filmed showing, well, I think I was explaining a bit more in detail the techniques and stuff. But yeah, so thank you for watching, and I hope you have fun playing with your dream drops if you got them when they were launched on Create and Craft. So thank you for watching, bye!